Welcome to the NASM CPT podcast. My name is Rick Ritchie, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation today that's going to be just a tad different than one that we normally have. So we're not going to be talking about acetylcholine. We're not going to be talking about sleep and how adenosine buildup and link tension relationships and the sliding. No, we're not talking about any of that stuff today. We're talking about probably what's even more important to many people out there, particularly gym owners and people that want stuff in their home gyms, because you get a lot of things. I know as a gym owner where I've got several locations and I just wonder, what is the right equipment for me? What are the reviews? Can I get some understanding of equipment that I've never seen, but it looks cool? Today we've got the right person for you. Today we're delighted to have Coop Mitchell with us, and he is the owner and reviewer of GarageGymReviews.com, and he's going to be on here, and I'm going to pepper him with my own questions because as somebody who owns fitness facilities, I got some questions about some things that I have in there. So I want his opinions, but you guys too, as you're listening to the live version of this on Facebook, if you want to ask questions, and as we taper down towards the end of our conversation, then our producer Greg will go in and find out what your questions are about particular equipment, questions you may have, what's the quality of certain things, how are they made, what are some of the intricacies that you may have questions about. I think our guest today is the right guy for it. I'm going to have him introduce himself, talk a little bit about the business and apparently the business that he used to be in before he got into this. So Coop, a pleasure to have you on, man. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. My name is Cooper Mitchell, but most people call me Coop on the internet. And as we were talking previously, I kind of said that one reason I went by Coop was because I was trying to kind of be somewhat anonymous online. It wasn't because I wanted something quick and easy. I was just thinking, I'm going to hide my face. And then as we grew and started to do YouTube and things like that, I started to have to be more the forefront. So kind of the way Garage Gym started was I started a garage gym, just kind of the short of it is I started a garage gym and I had a rack, just a basic squat stand, a bar, and some plates. And that was it. But I'm one of those people who I can't just stop at one thing. It's like I've got this appetite that's insatiable. So I have to keep feeding it. And I'm kind of a gearhead in any ways. So at the time I was training for CrossFit competitions, that was kind of what I was into. I had just come out of playing collegiate hockey and I was trying to find something that was physically, demanding and kind of feed that competitive itch. So I started training CrossFit and I realized I wanted to get more sessions in than I could just at the gym. So I was like, okay, I'll start the garage gym. And that's when I got the bar, the plates, and the squat rack. Well, I realized one is as I was researching reviews for different gym equipment products is there wasn't really anybody doing it. Like in the tech space, you see phone reviewers and there's 5,000 phone reviewers all reviewing the same exact phone. The thing can be said for, Consumer Reports, they're doing all different reviews. But fitness equipment, back when I started, which was 2011, 2012 or so, there wasn't that many people that were doing it. So I saw it basically a need in the market and I decided I was going to see if I could fill it. So I decided to just create a basic website. We started with Instagram, and I think that's all we did was we just had a basic website that I built on WordPress and Instagram. And my goal was, okay, how can I fill my gym and not have my wife mad at me because I had all this equipment,
Have you figured that part out yet?
Somewhat. I still buy a lot of equipment, but now because it, makes some money, it's a little bit easier to get around that. However, at the time I was just out of college. I had started a financial planning practice. I worked for myself. My wife was in school, so money was tight. So it's like, how can I make this happen? And how can I maybe start something on the side where it could produce some income too? So I started Garage Gym Reviews. Basically what I did was I would write reviews on the equipment I'd have. I'd send it to companies, my quote unquote portfolio, and I'd say, hey, this is a review I've done. It's very in depth. I've always been a decent writer. So I was like, it's very in depth. I tried to go more in depth than I think anybody would need. And I'd say, hey, I'd like to do this on your product as well. So initially I got a whole lot of no's, but I was used to being told no because I'd been in sales for a while. So I started cold calling some of these companies, making some contacts, and eventually I started getting some stuff sent to us for review. So it was like some jump ropes, some foam rollers, massage balls, all these like, chintzy small little things. And over time, it just started building up. And I realized, wow, there's a lot of people that have interest in this, because we started getting emails like, hey, Coop, can you review this? Like just a lot of interest in the idea of people wanting reviews on equipment, because you guys are mostly tailored towards those with commercial gyms, but there's this whole new market or a whole new section of the market that's continually growing, and that's home gym owners. Yeah. And so with home gym owners, they're looking for a little bit more budget-friendly options. There's a whole lot more options to choose from. And so, reviewing those sorts of things was a little bit easier. So over time, we just continue to grow. I started to put more money into the website. We now have over 2,000, I think we're at 2,500 different reviews on products. We also crowdsource reviews from people. So we have our reviews, GGR, Garage Gym reviews. And then we also have people in the community that have used products. They write reviews as well. We have our YouTube channel, which is around 130,000 subscribers right now. Our Instagram, which just hit over 200,000 followers. And we just continue to grow. And the reason is because we provide honest, in-depth reviews. We try to cut through the BS. So we tell people the way that it works is, hey, if it's good, we want to say if it's good. If it's bad, it's got bad parts. The thing is, we live in an imperfect world. So every product has good and bad parts of it. So we try to detail both of those in an in-depth manner. I don't sell anything I get. So I have this gym that I'm in. There's a 3-car garage. I have a 3,500 square foot training studio that's full of gyms. And then I have about 15 garages in the area that are full of equipment for myself as well. So that allows me to take a barbell. I've got close to 130 barbells. Allows me to take a barbell and then compare it to another barbell in hand. So really we're able to provide something that nobody else can, in that I've got everything here that I can review versus just going off memory. So that's kind of where we're at now. Garage gyms continue to grow. We're actually in one of the biggest growth periods of all time due to COVID and the pandemic happening. Yeah. And we just continue to try and provide people with honest information on products.
All right. Well, I've got a question about the videos that seem to get the most views. Mm-hmm. And is it specific equipment that people tend to do, like more views on barbells than anything else, or is it a positive review versus a negative review, or is it expensive versus inexpensive? Like what are the most viewed versions of what you see on your website?
So because home gym owners, I would say, are by and large, they're very price conscious. And then that's not just home gym owners, that's people in general. Yeah. People want to get a home gym and get into a home gym as cheaply as possible, because you got to understand, a lot of these people are coming from gym memberships. So they're paying, in some cases as cheap as $10 a month, in some cases as much as $300 a month. So there's a wide range there. So anytime we do a budget friendly option, like I did a video, it was a $500 home gym. We did it right before the pandemic started. And it got, I think, 1.2 million views in a week. Yeah, what? Which is, yeah. And it's like, it was honestly one of our worst produced videos, took the least amount of time, but people are interested in this idea of how can I get a home gym for as cheaply as possible. So yeah, things like that. Anytime we do low price, or anytime we do equipment that's like stupid expensive, they do really well. Yeah.
Do you have any how-tos? I mean, is it like, do you have any build your own versions, or are they all purchase versions?
No, we do a lot of DIY stuff. And that's kind of how the home gym community started. It was like this underground thing. This is what I like to tell people. Before Instagram, home gyms were not nearly as pretty as they are today. Because you also think of like just working out in general. When you used to go to the gym, you go to like a bodybuilding gym, it was like cutoff tanks, stringers, like that sort of thing, because it wasn't photographed as much. Now you go in and it's like Gymshark, Lululemon, yoga pants. People are spending all this money on all this stuff because they're showing it off not only there, but it's being shown off on Instagram too. Well, the same thing's with home gyms. Now home gyms, they try to set them up in such a way that their garages and their home gym setups, they look as pretty as, like out of some, like model or, like magazine or something. They're trying to make them look as good as possible.
Sure.
So because of that, people are spending a lot more on like the aesthetics and things. And so, yeah, there's a lot of different, I don't know, types of home gyms, but we're seeing them more and more go towards like epic setups. It's happening a lot.
Now let's get into some of the things that you've reviewed. Are there any kind of super unique things that you've come across where you're like, I don't even know how to lift this or how to put it on or what to do with it? Like, can you talk us through some of that stuff?
Yeah, so there's a lot of specialty bars that are coming out lately. And the reason specialty bars, I think, have become so successful is previously the home gym market wasn't as important to like companies that were making products. So they would sell like, 10, 20 different bars to one place. And it was like a commercial gym. Well, a commercial gym isn't going to typically buy 20 different specialty bars. They'll buy one specialty bar of like a safety squat bar, then they'll buy a football bar, then they'll buy like a buffalo bar, that sort of thing. Well, now home gyms, consumers, they're buying those just for their one gym. And you look at a neighborhood and there's, 500 houses in this one neighborhood. So there's all much more potential for selling these unique products. So specialty bars is one that has come up really quickly. There's a lot of unique ones out there. Like we just reviewed one called the Mars bar, and it's a safety squat bar. Yeah, that's got the yoke that comes all the way around.
Is it a safety squat bar though?
Well, that's a good question. It looks like a safety squat bar, but it feels completely different. It's like it hits so much lower on your back, so it's a much more hip dominated squat. It's just a different movement. But then there's a lot of gimmicky stuff that's out there too that doesn't stay on the market for really long. But I think one part of the market that's kind of become revolutionary, and I think when it started, it kind of came as a fad, but it's become really popular. That's belt squats. Belt squats have started to become really popular because there's a lot of different. I mean, for like personal training, for instance, you're dealing with a wide range of clientele. So some clients have back issues and all sorts of like, biomechanical, like difficult ways to squat. They don't know how to squat. It's difficult. They're scared of a barbell. Well, you can put somebody in a hip, harness, put them on a belt squat. It's easy to show them how to squat. It takes out the low back. But then there's a lot of, versatility that can be had with them in a garage gym setting for like pull-ups, dips, squats, marches, jumps, lunges, all those sorts of things. So those have become really popular too.
Do you see that people are that like larger gyms are gravitating toward this, or is this still kind of an underground garage gym situation that you see with that?
No, I think they are. And I think, again, that's predicated by the Instagram, like the photos of your gym and the content you're displaying on Instagram and just social media in general is often a business card for your gym, right? Like people want to put in good equipment. They want it to look good. So having these things that everybody is seeing online, well, a lot of your clientele, if you own a gym, they're going to be coming to you and saying, hey, I saw this piece of equipment on Instagram. Why don't we have it? Or is this a way that you can add it to the gym? And because of that, the consumer's starting to nag on their gym owners to buy these sorts of things like glute drives and all these different things, that I think ordinarily they wouldn't be there. But because the consumer's kind of driving that market, I think it is.
Now, are you getting any reviews from kind of larger companies? I mean, I think that they're Rogue, but there's some other ones. Like I buy a lot of equipment from GetRx. I believe that Sorenex is one of those companies that just comes up with really cool ideas. And I don't know if you're like, guys, I don't even know how to start reviewing some of the stuff that you have, are you getting kind of hit from different sizes of companies?
Yeah. So anything you got to understand, a lot of gym equipment is very similar in that it's made of some sort of steel. It's typically 11 gauge. They're fashioned in some way. A lot of it revolves around the squat rack. And that's typically the gym equipment that I think is often viewed as like, okay, these are your basics for a home gym. But it's only so much fun to review so many, bumper plates, barbells, squat racks, that sort of thing, because it becomes a lot of them are similar. I don't really even need to, I can just hold them one time or get them in or see a picture. And I pretty much have a good idea of what I'm going to say about it. But something that's kind of grown in popularity that we've started to review more is the smart home gym, or like smart, type of training apparatuses. So we're talking like Tonal. We've got a Tonal inside that
Yeah.
we're reviewing. Peloton. I've got a Peloton right here. All those sorts of like, connected piece of gym equipment. We've started to review more. There's actually one that we're reviewing right now. I can't release the company because it's still in like prototype phase. It's out at MIT, but it's basically a 3D camera that tracks your movements and is able to tell you biomechanically if you're hitting depth. It's able to help you like with your different squat mechanics. It's able to track your reps. It's able to track the weight that's on the bar, and it's all just housed in a 3D camera that's got a display attached to a like a tablet. So things like that, we're starting to review more. Velocity-based trainers, all that sort of stuff. I really like that stuff because I really like tech, and I'm glad that to see tech come into the gym. I think that's going to be a force multiplier for people working out more, because you see it with Fitbit. Everybody loves their Apple Watch where they have to fill the circle. Everybody loves their Fitbit. Well, if you can take that tech and combine it with strength training, I think that's going to be very popular.
I will say this: a few years ago, my dad was working out at the YMCA in Florence, Alabama. And he said to me when I came to visit, he goes, "Son, I want you to look at this. I've lifted more than 4 million pounds this year." And he was really proud of that. And it's because they had these and now they were selectorized machines, but you kind of type in your data, your information, and it knows who you are. And then when you put the pin in, it knows what weight it is. It knows how many reps that you've done, how many sets that you've done, and it calculates it over time. And that was something that was just, because the number's so big, it's such a wonderful point of pride. Now, I had no idea. I was like, I don't even know how much 4 million pounds is. I can't even compute that, right? So, but it's something that's really cool that we see that even people like my father are really interested in. And when we look at Fitbit, which was recently acquired by Google, and you've got the Apple Watches and all of the Garmin and the wearable tech doing biometrics, this techno gym that is really dominating and allowing other companies to use them as a platform to create their online tech. I think tech's going to be a big thing. So I'm happy to see that the garage gyms are also kind of enrolling in this concept, and people are picking up on it. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not opposed to just going to the garage and completely unplug and just do your thing and lift your weight. But it is pretty cool to see that connection between the tech and just a moderate kind of garage gym, as opposed to a big YMCA or a large company that you see connecting.
Definitely. Well, gamifying anything has proven that humans will do whatever you want them to do. So we see that with Facebook and all, big tech companies. The reason they gamify things is because they want you to complete some action. So if your goal is to have people work out more effectively, do it more often, then adding gamifying, like badges and the circles, because we want to complete things. We're people that we don't like things that are incomplete. And even if it's silly and virtual and nothing that you'll actually hold or ever do anything with, it does give you a sense of like, yeah, I really want to do that. Like 4 million pounds, that sounds a lot, but when you think about it, like that's every rep tracking the weight on every rep, you know what I mean? So it's like, well, is 4 million pounds that much? We don't know because it's a new thing. That said, it makes you feel like, man, yeah, like you're dead. 4 million pounds, I'm the world's strongest man. It's like, okay, well, how many reps
did that comprehend what that looked like? I was like, well, that sounds impressive.
Yeah, great job. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Well, it is a lot of fun to see some of these things going on. What are curious about just some of the different things that you're seeing, like when it comes to benches. I know that I was surprised when I first opened a gym how expensive just something down on so I could pick something up with could be. What are some of the things you're looking at? Are you looking at the pad on it? You looking at the make? Is it easy to move around? Is it too big? Is it too small? I want to know about some little things. And then if you could go through just what people should have in their garage gym. Now, I know different strokes for different folks, and I get that, but just like you got to have the nuts and bolts somewhere, and I think you're a great guy to provide that.
Yeah, so for benches specifically, and we have an article called "The Best Weight Benches of 2020" that we update every time a new bench comes out. But I go through kind of like the characterizations that I look for in a bench. But if you're talking just a basic flat bench, one thing that I think has become really popular at looking at now, and one thing we always cover, is the country of origin for the materials, where it's manufactured, where it's assembled, where it's designed, all those sorts of things. Because I think it wasn't as big of a deal maybe 10 years ago, but now, especially because of the pandemic and more things that are going on, a lot of people want made in the USA equipment. It matters to them. So I don't try to give too much of an opinion on that because I'm not trying to get political. However, at the same time, I try to make sure people know where it's from. A lot of companies try to hide that from us, but we're able to find it out, thankfully, due to contacts. So if it's made in the USA, that typically has a feeling of higher quality. Does that mean it's higher quality? No, not by any means. But I think more often things that are made in the USA do have better quality than China, at least from what we've seen. So that's one. In addition to that, if you're thinking of flat bench, you also have to think of your use case. So if you're somebody who's planning on powerlifting and using a lot of heavy weight on bench, you're going to want a high weight capacity. So having something that doesn't have a spine all the way down the middle is going to lead to a bench that kind of comes in more. It's going to flex more. You want a solid platform if you're going to bench on, regardless of if you're doing heavy or not. So you don't want it to cave in. You don't want a spine beneath it. So you're looking at the gauge of steel of the actual frame. If you're also powerlifting, what type of setup do you use? If you're putting your legs under the bench when you're doing an arch for a bench, then you're probably going to want a 3-post bench. So there's a lot of competition style benches that are based on combo benches that use a single post in the front, 2 legs in the back, and that allows you to basically tuck your feet under if you'd like and still have a stable platform. So another thing to look for are wheels and handles, like how portable is it? There are some benches that are coming out from Rogue and some others that have foldable legs. So you can fold the legs in, put it up on the wall, make it easy. I mean, home gyms, one of your biggest detriments to home gym is the amount of space you have. Sure. So a lot of people are working with a 1-car garage and they're still parking in the garage. So being able to like move everything onto the walls and park in your garage, that's something to look for. In addition, you're looking at the foam material that's used. A lot of benches today are using like a single layer of foam, but sometimes it's nice to have a thick, dense layer of foam and then like a carpet pad on top for a little bit more comfort. You're also looking at the width of the bench. Sorry if this is getting boring, but these are things I'm thinking about. But if you're looking at the width of the bench, so how wide is the top? If you want something a little bit wider, like the Rogue Thompson Fat Pad, it's almost, I think, 15 or 14 inches wide. It's a really wide pad. If you're not used to that, or if you're not a big person, it may not feel as good. You're looking at the vinyl. Is it a grippy vinyl? Is it going to grip your shirt so you can dig into it when you're pressing your scaps up against it? That's something that matters, because if you think about you're doing a heavy bench on a slick vinyl top and you slip, well, you're looking at the potential for injury. You're looking at a mislift, like all sorts of things. So that's something that matters as well. And then ultimately, I think you're looking at price as well. So what do the features, and this is what we often do when we recommend things, is I'm not looking for the absolute best. I'm looking for the best value for most people. So how do the features, quality, everything like that compare to the price? Because if the features are way up here and the price is way up here, well, it doesn't really matter as much. I'm looking for something with maybe a little bit less features, less quality, but a lower price point. That's the intersection where most people want to purchase for a home gym. So those are some of the things I'm looking for.
I know also that weight of the kind of the utensil matters, and it's not just because of how easy it is to transport it in the gym, but how expensive it is to transport it to your house. So that was something else that when I first priced out my very first gym, I didn't think about and I thought, oh my goodness, I am so over budget because it's heavy. Gym equipment is heavy, and it costs a lot of money to get it to where it needs to go. And that's something that has to be considered. Now, mine is a a gym, a training gym, not a home gym, so I had more equipment than most people, but it's something that's got to be considered.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's a great point. So you also have to consider, like, is the piece of equipment welded together or is it bolted? Because if it's bolted, they do that so it can break down, put it in a box, and you don't have to ship freight. If it's welded all together, like some racks used to be all welded, they'd weld all the panels together. They weren't thinking about shipping costs. So it'd ship on this big, pallet. Well, today, pretty much all racks are bolt together because they can come down together. The user is able to assemble it. It makes it cheaper. It's not that much weaker, welds versus steel, welds versus bolts. So I think bolt together is something that's happening more and more, and we're seeing that with specialty bars now too, where they used to weld the sleeves on. Now they're bolting them on to make shipping cheaper. But yeah, you certainly do have to look at shipping costs, because companies will say, like, we offer free shipping, but there's nothing free in life. You just have to figure out, what cost are they baking in there so they can have free shipping? And if they're not offering free shipping, get some quotes from different companies to figure out what the best price is going to be. Because yeah, like you said, it can get very expensive. I mean, there's racks you can buy that will end up, depending on the company you order from, end up being $500 extra just to have it shipped to your door. So it gets expensive.
So my question is, do you have just as much of a construction job as you do a review job, or do you have a team that helps put things together for you?
Yeah, so I'm constantly putting things together. I have friends that will help me. The issue is I don't want to pay somebody to put something together, because that's a big part of the process, is receiving the shipment. What condition is the cardboard in? Is there a lot of chips, everything like that? Putting it together, like, those are other things that we review and talk about too. So I don't think it's good enough to just, be able to review the final experience, because the receiving, assembly, the instructions, all of that stuff plays into a good experience and whether a product is good. Because if it takes hours to put together, they miss bolts, like, you don't receive everything you're supposed to receive. That's not a product I really want to recommend often, because if you don't have all the parts, you can't use it. So I'll also order things a lot of times under pseudonames and different addresses, because if people see it's coming to Coop at Garage Gym Reviews, everything's pristine. They ship it differently. They'll pre-assemble a lot of things. But if I put it under a different name, they don't put as much care into it. So I have a good idea of what the normal consumer would get.
Oh man, I mean, they do a special like powder coating for you when it comes to your gym. They know what's up. It's nice to know that there's a pseudonym that's being put out there, so that you can hide a little bit behind it and see what's really going on. You also talked about things that were folding down. I think that's pretty amazing what I've seen in the past few years. It's like garage gyms or transformers. I mean, you can have a gym almost completely set against the wall or not come off a wall even 2 feet. Once it's folded down. I think that those are an incredibly valuable thing for a home gym, for sanity, for safety, for being able to get a car inside a garage that's also your gym. Those things are pretty amazing. Have you seen any particular versions of those fold down garages that you think are standout?
Yeah. The best rack that's fold away, in my opinion, is the PRX profile rack. It actually uses gas shocks. They have a patent on it. It uses gas shocks. So rather than folding in or folding away, it folds up. The reason you want something that folds up instead of folding away is you don't have to remove any accessories from it. You don't have to remove the pull-up bar. It's easier to use. You just fold it down, fold it up. It takes 4 inches against the wall. So you're thinking of a rack that's able to fold off the wall and be about 25 inches away from the wall, and then fold up and be 4 inches away from the wall. So you can park any kind of car in there. It's simple to use. And that's one of the things I talk about with home gym owners is you want to make it as easy as possible for you to reach whatever goal you want to reach. So if you want to work out more often, having a bunch of equipment that you have to assemble, if it's modular, you have to add all this stuff together. You have to figure out how to use it every time you go to use it. That's not a good experience. You want something that you just plug and play. You just go into the garage. If you want to park in the garage, fine. You pull out your car, you pull down your rack, you put your bar on, you're good to go. If you have to like fold the rack in, add the pull-up bar, add, all these different parts, bolt it together every time you use it, the fact of the matter is you're probably not going to use it very often, or you're just going to leave it out and you're not going to actually park in the garage. So those sorts of things definitely matter. Yeah.
I'm going to need you to allay my fears, because apparently you've got a Murphy bed version of a rack, and I would be very concerned that that thing would come off the wall onto my car.
Okay.
So, what can you explain? What are the safeties behind these that allow me to feel comfortable parking my car or having my children walk through the garage?
So I have the perfect answer for you, and this is the answer. It goes into studs, but here's the thing. I was skeptical of it too. So what we did was we took a barbell, we loaded it with 500 pounds, we dropped it from, I think it was a total of 60 inches from the J cups to the spotter arms. We just rolled it off, and there was no damage. It completely held in the wall. There was no issue at all. That's a 500-pound bar from basically head height down to below parallel, dropped straight down, no issues, still held in the wall. So if you're worried about something like that coming off, you don't need to be. I mean, there's a video, the video on YouTube has, I think, 400,000 views or so. It's just called, I think, PRX drop test or something. But yeah, we dropped 505 pounds on it. Dude, I was amazed. It was awesome. Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Incredible.
Yeah.
Speaking of drop test, do you test the plates to see if they taco under pressure if you drop them, and do you have a lot of different brands that you've done test with those on?
Definitely, yeah. So really, the ideal test for a bumper plate is this machine that it's chain driven, and all these manufacturers use them, or like if they're, I mean, all bumper plates are made overseas unless they're high temps. So these machines, basically, they bring up the bumper plate on this chain-driven system that brings it up. It's an elevator, and then it just drops it down. And they try to see how many like rounds it will take before it breaks or tacos, whatever. Okay. So the gold standard for that is basically like a minimum of 30,000 drops before it tacos. So yeah, they can take a lot of abuse. Now that's a single bumper plate dropping. That's not like on a barbell, and it's not like awkwardly going at the side and things like that. So, that sort of thing is what we look for whenever we're doing reviews. We're not doing that in-house yet. That's quite expensive for those machines and the way you house them and everything. So we try to trust the manufacturers on that. We try to get video from them. Like a lot of times they'll send us time lapses of them happening. So over the course of a few days, they'll be testing these bumper plates to show them off. So those are ways that you can test that sort of thing. Tensile strength in barbells is another thing that's often tested. Tensile strength doesn't tell the whole story. And Rogue, they came out with a system called the F rating, and the F rating tells you how durable the bar is. And you may be thinking, well, Rogue came out with it, so it must be like, more push towards Rogue's products. But the real fact of the matter is they paid a company called SCA Limited, which does auto manufacturing, to do all the tests of these bars like independently. So basically what they found was bars that were coated in chrome were the least durable bars, regardless of the tensile strength.
Really?
So you're talking Eleiko, which makes some of the best barbells for use in the world, but because they're coated in chrome, they're more likely to bend over time. So, things like that have come to fruition. And, Rogue, for instance, they won't sell any chrome bars anymore. They replaced it with black zinc, bright zinc, and stainless steel. So, but those are things that I think are often tested and we look to in describing and helping people decide which piece of equipment to buy.
Okay. Well, I'll also say that chrome does look really good. And if you don't have a real meathead gym, they sure are pretty.
Oh, definitely. Oh, chrome's great bar. Yeah, I mean, this is the thing. If you're running a CrossFit gym where there's a lot of like high rep Olympic weightlifting, you probably don't want a chrome bar. But if it's just a normal gym bar, it's not really going to matter that much if it's chrome or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah. Well, I have I'm gonna bounce this over to Greg, because I know that we've got some people that are listening, and I'm not sure how active the chat is, but if there are any specific questions about equipment or reviews or your business, then I'd like to get an idea from the folks listening. If we got any questions for you.
Yeah, Tim in the chat wants to know if there was one piece of equipment that you reviewed that you feel everybody's home gym should have. What would it be?
So a specific piece of equipment, well, I'd give a category of equipment. I think every gym should have a barbell. I think a barbell, without a doubt, is, something that's universal. It's incrementally loaded, so you can, periodize as much as you want. There's so much versatility that can be done with it, from squats to, deadlifts to other movements like for the core, like landmines and all sorts of things. So I think barbell is definitely something that everyone should have. And then this is a piece of equipment that I think is a bit unique, but I do think that everybody should have, and that is a sound system. I think you need a sound system because you got to think like you're trying to motivate yourself to train. So I know it's a little bit unique, but going out there and training, unless you're like really into stoicism and you like pain without any external motivation, I think you need some sort of, musical motivation, maybe some coffee, get yourself going, because with the home gym, it can sometimes be difficult to work out by yourself. So making it as helpful and as motivating as you can, I think, is going to be helpful. So yeah.
Now, is that working its way into your reviews with sound systems and AirPods and headphones? Is that going to be part of it?
Yeah. So we've reviewed Sonos and some other companies that have had us review some stuff. We're also getting into some accessory things. Like we got a water jet massage table we're getting ready to review. I've got a barrel sauna in the backyard that we've reviewed. Nice. So we've got a lot of recovery, similar stuff that you use with working out that we've started to do more reviews on. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, Cool. Greg.
So another question in the chat, was there one piece of equipment or multiple that surprised you when you reviewed it, something you didn't expect that you wound up finding you really liked?
Okay, so I'm a barbell fiend. I love barbells. I love the way they look. They're like pieces of art. But in addition to that, I just love training with them. I'm barbell focused. That's the type of training I do. However, I got tonal in, and I was thinking, tonal, this is going to be like a girl's piece of equipment. Like, no offense, I just thought my wife would love it. I didn't think, I'm tough. Like, this isn't manly enough for me. And then I started to use it, and I was like, this is amazing.
No,
tonal,
really?
I'm telling you, tonal is, I say this often, but the future of home gyms is not squat racks. The future of home gyms are these smart connected devices like Peloton. If you've never used a Peloton, you want to feel like you're in a studio, like a cycling studio in your own home, wearing whatever you want, get a Peloton. But tonal is like that for strength training. The resistance profile is so smooth. The way that they're using the technology, the way that they're tracking reps, the way that they're able to tell you exactly what weight you're using, you don't even have to think about it. The thing is, like, I use my wife for an example for a lot of this because she doesn't love training. So if it's something she uses, then I know it's something that a lot of people will use, because she's not really into like barbells and squat racks. She's into just like general fitness, and she wants to make it easy and fun and enjoyable. So when she started using tonal and started using it every day, and like because of the gamification, she'd check her phone and see her scores and all those sorts of things, I knew it was something that was viable for the large community. So tonal absolutely blew me away. I'm floored with it. As much as I love barbells, I think for most people, that sort of system, especially for people that live in big cities that don't have the room for it, tonal's the future. That sort of system, and tonal's not the only one. There's tons of them. Mirror, other ones. We'll see who's the big player in that space right now. It's Peloton, but those sorts of systems, they've blown me away by far. Yeah.
That is really cool. Is there are they able to get what's their resistance range that you see on that for people who are like, it sounds cool, but I just, I like barbells because they're heavier. Will this make sense for them?
Yeah, so tonal can go up to 100 pounds per arm, and it's not like, it's a different 100 pounds. It's a consistent 100 pounds. So, it's different than like a barbell with chains or bands or, some of those other things. It's consistent 100 pounds. So if you combine the two, it can do up to 200 pounds. So, if you're a really heavy deadlifter, like I deadlift 518 is my all-time best deadlift. It's not heavy enough for deadlifts, but for every upper body movement, it's definitely heavy enough. So yeah, I think for most people, it's more than strong enough. And one reason they didn't make it heavier is because they didn't feel most people would need it. They have the abilities to go heavier, and I'm sure in the future they can allow that. But for now, because it's not like a weight stack. It's all magnetically based. It's all using like friction and things for cords. It's different. So because of the technology that's used, I think the resistance profile can be a lot higher, and also depends how strong your walls are.
That was my question that I had on deck for you.
Yeah, but for 200 pounds, to answer that question, for 200 pounds, you start hearing some like creaks because it used a lot of plastic in the system, but it's not anything that you're like worried about it like falling off the wall or anything like that. Like if you have a decently made house, you're going to be fine. Yeah, I've had no issues with like structural issues. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right. This one's from me. I just want to know, what is the most bizarre thing you've reviewed for the site? Because I imagine you've had some very strange things come through as well.
Yeah, there's this piece of equipment called the Banff hammer, and it looks like Thor's hammer. It's basically like a let me think here. It's like a stick with a rubber head mallet, and they call it the Banff hammer. And it's basically, you use it for swings and like hitting things, all that sort of thing. That one was really unique. There's another one where it's a pair of recovery shoes, and due to some sort of testing, they were able to determine that you could improve your recovery if this little motor with this little like push head pushed on your like basically the ball of your foot, and you just put them on and it just pushes the ball of your foot over and over and over and over. Yeah, I didn't notice any change in my recovery. However, they do have some studies that show that it works. But that one was really unique. That was definitely different. Yeah.
Well, I own a recovery studio in New York City, so it might be something I have to look into for.
Okay. Yeah. You can say you have it. I don't know if people find benefit from it, but we've got it.
There's a lot. You know what? I'll have to check out Garage Gym reviews and see what those reviewers have to say about it.
Definitely.
Hey, Greg, are we wrapped up on the questions?
We are. Thank you. Or actually, we just got another one.
Oh, all right.
As we were speaking, David in the chat wants to know, what is the best fan bike that you've reviewed in your time reviewing?
Yeah, so we have a review called The Best Air Bikes. I've tested every single one that's out there. I own all of them. I've got a couple over here. I've got quite a few at the gym. The best value air bike for most people is the Rogue Echo bike. And the reason that it's one of the best is because it's price friendly and it uses a belt drive design. This is something that a lot of people don't realize, is you don't want a chain driven bike. The drive system is what's going to take the most maintenance. So like an Assault air bike, it's a good air bike, but it still uses the same drive system as an old Schwinn 84, 82, those older bikes that they call them Satan's tricycle, not just because they suck to use, but also because they're awful to maintain. I've had a Rogue Echo bike in my gym, like my personal gym, at our training studio. It's been used by all sorts of people, from CrossFit Games athletes to just general, trainees, and I've never had an issue with it. So it's an incredible bike. If you want something that's maybe a little bit more modern looking and not as intimidating as the black, because I know that matters to some people, the Schwinn 88, 87, or 80 Pro, it goes by all those names, but it's all the same bike. That's a great bike that uses a belt drive system. Again, I've had no issues with it. I really love that bike. It's got different handles. Those two are the ones that I think I would look to most often. I think those are the ones I like the best. But we go in detail on every single bike that's on the market, recommend all our picks from our best pick to our upgrade pick to our budget pick, all that sort of thing on the site for the best air bikes for 2020. Yeah.
Nice. I do have a question then. It leads me into another one, which is, Concept 2 kind of has the market on the brand in the rower space.
Yeah.
What are some rowers that you've worked with that you like a lot? And then can you speak to the water-based resistance versus the air-based? And what are some of the things pros and cons about those that you see?
Yeah. So you said Concept 2 has the market, and that's not just because they've been around the longest or they created it. It's because they make the best, most simple machines that are out there. Concept 2, by far, a Model D rower should be in pretty much every gym in the world, and then a ski erg, then a bike erg. They kind of are the epitome of that Einstein, at least it's attributed to him, but that phrase that's, it's like don't make things as easy as possible, or make things as simple as possible, but no simpler. That's a Concept 2 product. Is it doesn't have all this excess stuff. It just does what it does. It does it extremely well. It's extremely durable, and they're just great products. So by and large, there's really nobody that can compete with a Concept 2 rower. There's definitely other ones that we reviewed, like there's Zebex has a rower that we reviewed. It's basically based on that design. It's a little bit cheaper, but not enough to be like, yeah, you should buy that one. There's a company called Hydro that we're getting ready to review, and it's basically a Peloton for rowing. It's a beautiful, sleek-looking rower. Very cool rower. I don't know if it's going to be as durable, but it does take some of those features from Peloton, so I think it will be pretty popular. But then, as far as the water-based rowers, I think have a better aesthetic to them. I think they look good. You have the sound of the water rowing. The difference is you can't really change the resistance profile as much. That water can end up molding over time, so you have to replace it. It's not in my opinion, it's not as good of an experience for rowing as a Concept 2 rower. There's a reason that, pretty much every rowing team in the world uses Concept 2 rowers when they're not out on the water. Even though, they're training specifically for water, but they're using air-based rowers. And the reason is because they're just better than water-based rowers. So I like the idea of a water-based rower. I like the way it looks. If you like the sound of it, they're by no means bad rowers. But for most people, the Concept 2 Model D is the best rower there is in the world.
Gotcha. Well, for somebody that has them in my facility, they also have a great customer service experience with them. So shout out to Concept 2 and what they've done and the equipment they have. And with that said, shout out to Coop Mitchell from GarageGymReviews.com and the YouTube channel of the same name, I believe, Garage Gym Reviews. And dude, it's been a pleasure having you on here, and I really appreciate the work that you've put into all of this. And I'm glad that you made such an interesting transition from the world of finance, I think, and to reviewing gym equipment. That's like the dream for so many people. How do I get out of what I'm doing, even though and get into something that maybe I didn't go to school for, but something that I just passionate about. Gym equipment, and it's all stuff that we want to play at. It's all the stuff that every gym owner, every person that desires to have a garage gym, they want to do what you do, or at least they want the knowledge that you have, and you've given them the opportunity to access that. So a huge shout out to you. Thank you so much, Coop, for being on. Can you tell everybody where to find you if they want to reach out to you, and certainly shout out your website again, and the other things that you have that like the YouTube channel, like Instagram or whatever that is.
Yeah, you can find us at Garage Gym Reviews on pretty much every social media platform. We're at Garage Gym Reviews on YouTube as well. But I think the most helpful information, the most in-depth stuff is on our website, GarageGymReviews.com. We're currently completely rebuilding the system from the ground up. We've got a lot of features that I think will make it nice for people to connect that own home gyms, find equipment, that sort of thing. So if you go to GarageGymReviews.com, you can sign up, get updates for that. And those are the main places that you can find us.
Excellent. Well, Coop, thank you so much. I appreciate you being on the show. And for everybody that's out there listening, those who ask questions, shout out. Thank you so much for asking those questions. And I really appreciate you being here. My name is Rick Ritchie. This is the NASM CPT Podcast.